What's up, guys? We're back. We're racing. We're talking F1. We're doing another live discussion. We're trying to keep this different, flowing as much as possible. Want you guys to get involved. Get on the comments. Try to get involved with some of this if you can, especially like Warren and the rest of you guys. Okay, Raz, I saw you pop up today. Hello, how you been? Good to see you back amongst the discussion. So a lot of talking points. Of course, Sebastian Vettel had a massive off yesterday. Apparently, it's something to do with the rim of the car. Apparently, it was hit by a foreign object. It might have sustained damage earlier during the week. That particular wheel it failed, causing Sebastian Vettel to go straight on turn 3 and hit the Tech Pro barrier some considerable speed, probably around the 130 miles per hour mark we predict. So that was a real setback for Ferrari. A bit of cause for concern, understanding that problem. Of course, you don't want it to happen again, especially in race trim. It could be catastrophic for both driver and, of course, the car. These cars don't come cheap. So it was Leclerc's turn today, day 5 of testing. It's day 5? Day 5 of testing. It's Tuesday. Day 3 of testing. Of second week of testing. So Leclerc got back in the car today. He pumped in some really quick lap times. He's actually about a tenth of a second off Lewis Hamilton's pole position for the previous year, which teams wasn't expecting, because they was expecting about a second and a half to 2 second deficit because of the loss in downforce and overall radiation change for this year, with more drag on the rear wing as well. So just affecting teams a bit differently. However, the thing you have to consider is the teams have five compounds to run at this test. So Ferrari were using the C5 tyre, which is very unlikely to be used during the Grand Prix, because we know the abrasive nature of this track, especially that on the front left tyre of the car, being dragged around the likes of turn 3 and really taking some punishment. So the left side of the car is always suffering more. So we can't read too much into it. When it comes to qualifying this year, yeah, they might be within half a second or so, but I don't expect them to be breaking lap records at the start of the season anyway. Maybe when the development race kicks in and the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull really get their act together, then you could see some time tumbling. Let me know what you think on that. If you think I'm right, or if you think the cars are going to be quicker. They've made that ground up already. We wouldn't be surprised if so. We're hearing more power from the engines as well this year. A lot of guys have said their updates are really working well, and they can feel that extra power, even though they have that parachute, which they call the new rear wing regulation change for this year. So look, Charles Leclerc, he managed to clock up 138 laps. He set his fastest lap time on the C5 tyre in a 1:16.231, which was the fastest lap of testing so far. And like I say, it was about just under a tenth of a second, which is marginal to Lewis Hamilton's time, which was last year. Alexander Albon, really impressed with this guy. First real seat, and he's coming up trumps at the minute. When you have to compare him to the likes of Danny Kvyat, what do we think of Danny Kvyat? If he gets beaten by Albon, this is going to be really telling the bosses what they want, not want to hear maybe. So he set his time on C5 as well, compound. He managed to get a very, very impressive 1:17.084. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong time. A 1:16.8, even more impressive. So I think he can be one to watch this year. He's a good racer. I've watched him a bit, dueling with the likes of Norris, Russell, etc. He's a real talent, and it's good to see the young guns coming through to the sport and really making up on some of these big boys in the sport. I wouldn't call exactly Kvyat a big boy, but anyway, I've just lost the times. For the test session. Just trying to get them back at the minute. Just give me 1 second, bear with me. Any comments, please let me know. I'll have a look at that in a second. Yeah, we've got the times back here. So that was Alexander Albon in P2. We had Lando Norris. McLaren looking pretty confident. I think they've come out to make a statement. There's been a lot of doom and gloom. They've come out a fresh start. I think they've been one of the more aggressive teams in terms of their testing strategy, especially during week 2. They've been trying to top the timesheets or the past few days, considering, they've been right up there. A lot of smiles, a lot of happiness around the McLaren boys and girls. And he managed to get 84 laps at Lando Norris. He set his fastest time on the C5 compound as well, which is the black tyre with the red Pirelli writing and logo on, I do believe. And he got a 1:17.084. Excuse me. I've got a few sniffles at the moment, so excuse any sneezing. I do apologise. Pierre Gasly. So he managed 65 laps, and the major talking point from him is he binned it. He had a massive off, pretty much a whole car rebuild. I don't know if they managed to salvage the chassis even on that car, but he set a fastest lap of a 1:17.091. Apologies once again. Then we had Danny Rick, the whole honey badger. He got the 5th fastest time overall in his Renault. He managed to clock up 65 laps, and he done that on the C5 compound and got 1:17.2. Then we had Nico Hulkenberg, the Hulk, the big man, in the Renault, got 73 laps. Impressive running from them on the C5 tyre as well, 1:17.496. Lance went for a stroll in his Racing Point and managed to clock up 103 laps on the C5 compound and the 1:17.5 he got there. Giovinazzi, I've been quite impressed with him. I didn't rate him too much as a driver, but coming into this test, he's been quite consistent, I would say, and he managed to clock up 71 laps in the Alfa, which is looking a beauty of a car. Raikkonen thinks there's pace in the car, which is saying something from a world champ. So we're going to watch out for the Alfa boys this year. I think they could be some of the dark horses are going to pick up the points when the big boys at the top either come together, have unreliability, penalties, anything like that. I think there'll be ones in the early part of the season anyway to really pounce on the front end of the points. We had Romain Grosjean in the Haas. He managed to get 16 laps in. He got a C4 compound for his fastest lap of 1:17.854. And then we had Lewis Hamilton, as all the memes are and everything, sandbagging, etc. But they've been clocking up the miles. They've been clocking up major distances recently. So he managed to get 85 laps, and he was on the C2 compound. So of course they're going to be at least a second off any reasonable competitive time from the likes of McLaren or Alfa or anyone like that. And he got 1:18.0, which is a good going. Apparently Lewis is quite happy with the cars. There's been a step forward. There's a lot of positive vocabulary coming out of the Mercedes team now. And there's also rumor on their car. Of course, what the car I saw, me and Laura, when we was in Barcelona, that car is completely different to the car they're running in week 2. And there's a few theories about this. Is it an update? Was it planned? Did they notice something early in the simulations that wasn't working on the car and they really needed to address, like in the computer simulation, wind tunnel, for instance? Or is it a case they're trying to run 2 spec cars? Now, when I say 2 spec cars, I mean 2 cars, 2 different concepts. Are they trying to do that? Are they allowed to do it? What do they have to submit to the FIA? I do not know the answers to these questions. I'm going to try and find out because there's a strong rumor, which I really like the sound of. Basically, they're going to have 2 different cars based on what characteristic the track is. You might want a slightly different car for Singapore or Monaco street race than you would want for a Barcelona or a Silverstone or even Spa or any of these kind of circuits. So watch out for that. It's going to be interesting if we see throughout the season some of the older bits that we've potentially seen on that car. We've had George Russell in the Williams. He was 11th fastest overall. He got some major mileage under the belt. Got 140 laps, and he set his fastest time on the C5, which was below Lewis, and he got 1:18.1. So you can see 3 steps Lewis has on the tyre there. So they do look quite far away off, you could say, the Williams team, because he's got the same power plant. Of course, the chassis and everything handling won't be anywhere near as good as the Mercedes you would expect. And we had K-Mag in the Haas. Looks like he was mainly focusing on mid to long run like simulations. They got 53 laps, set his fastest lap time on a compound 3, and it was 1:18.1 his fastest lap. Then Bottas heading up the field, he managed to also get 96 laps. 96 laps. So basically, what Mercedes have done is they've run about 3 race distances almost. So I think that's really impressive from them. Just for 1 second. Excuse the ill health. Doesn't stop us from talking F1. That's the moral of the story. No matter rain or shine. It was sunny England the last few days. It's not been recently. Today we've had rain. Garden needed a bit of rain, so we're not complaining too much about that. We're going to get into some other news now. So for Fernando's been at track. He's made a big fuss. He's walked into the paddock. Of course, he's not trying to cause a fuss. He's a McLaren ambassador, basically. So he'll be doing some promo events. You'll see him around, in different countries when they want to go and promote Formula One. He'll be running like in an older spec of a McLaren car with the new colors, most likely, doing some donuts, burnouts, and entertaining the crowd to be doing that. And also, he's there in the wings in the case that Sainz, Lando Norris is unwell or unfit to drive the car, shall we say. You might see him deputize. You could even see him for a cameo. He will be doing testing this year, so he'll be running some of their mileage. That could be on like a Pirelli tire test, or it could be in the 2 upcoming tests, which we'll get onto in a minute, which will be at Bahrain and Catalonia. So talking of the test, I'm trying to inquire if that test, which will be the week after the Barcelona Grand Prix, whether it will be ticketed, whether we can get in, we can go and do some streaming, etc. Like talk to you boys and girls like we have in the past. So I'll let you know on the updates about that. We'll see if we can get a cheap paddock pass for maybe 100, 150 quid and just try and get in the backstage areas and not really have the whole hospitality package, which comes with a lot of them from different organizations. So anyone there, give me a like, give me a shout out. So apparently, in the news we've got here is Ferrari and Haas. They've both been having some exhaust issues. It's the first time I've heard about that, in all honesty. That was on today. Apparently, they've noticed something there, and there's a small issue with the exhaust. And we did see Charles Leclerc obviously clock up the fastest time, but we also did see a bit of smoke out the back of the Ferrari. So is there an underlying problem there? Do they have a reliability issue? It'll be interesting to see. Apparently, in the customer team, Haas was a bit hit by an exhaust manifold failure and a gas leak. And Ferrari has confirmed as well that it had a small issue with their exhaust. So Gunther Steiner said that he had to not him personally, take off the gearbox and the turbocharger to get to the exhaust manifold, but they've been had to run some repairs on their car to address them issues. So yeah, Gasly's shunt. We'll try to get you some footage of that from another source and share it in the group if you're on Facebook. If you're not in the discussion group, please just search F1 2019 discussion group. And we can have a chat in there, share some content between each other, the up-to-date news, and maybe someone's not at work and I am, and anyone else get involved. But yeah, Gasly's been quite shaken. He did sound a bit downbeat. Of course, it's the second crash he's had in this test, which is notably the 2 biggest ones, of a particular driver. So it's a big rebuild for the Red Bull guys, but they managed to do it, and it will be Verstappen's turn on the final day of testing. Apparently, Kimi Raikkonen repairs his own Alpha F1. See, I haven't seen that. Paddy Lowe has been dismissing questions about his future at Williams, so it sounds he's fully committed to the cause and wants to improve this car and take a step forward rather than stand his ground or backtrack on it. So coming out very defensive there. Apparently Leclerc said Ferrari we're not running flat out at the minute. I think we all know that. There's an element that they don't want to do it. I think it's important to know how the balance of the car is when you've got it in maximum attack mode and you do have the fastest set of tires on and you do have a bit of low fuel, not necessarily a quali lap amount of fuel, but maybe 10 laps or so in there, because that's going to be really key, how it is twitching through them very delicate, when you're on the envelope. And we've seen like the likes of Gasly, maybe that's what they've been doing. Different sectors, they might not run a whole lap, they might come in, low fuel it, go out, set a few quickest sector times and then back off, for instance, because they don't want to show their true pace. So I'll try and study at the end of the test, fastest sectors, all drivers over a lap, put them together, and we'll try and see what the pace will be come the opening stages in Albert Park. But of course, teams will be trying to do that themselves. I'm sure they will have a fair understanding of where they will be. What other news have we got for you? Just trying to have a look through. How is everyone today? How's your day been? Been busy? So Pierre Gasly's crash did sound quite bad. Let's just Trying to explain what's happened to you. On through turn 7, 8. Coming up to turn 9, we really have to commit it. It looks like the back end has just gone from under him. He's gone arse first into the barrier. And yeah, the whole rear suspension, gearbox probably. There'll be a lot of damage within that car. So yeah, not good going for him. I don't know how we can stop that video. So who have you been impressed with this test so far? Who are the key takeaways from it? Who's really struggling? Who's sandbagging? And what's going on? Thank you to my lovely assistant Laura. I'm now live with you guys with the comments because we were struggling. Captain Obvious, hello to you. He's got the best t-shirt on, says Henry Ellis. Do you think or know if Red Bull will be running tomorrow? I'd highly expect so. They're going to have plenty of components at the track. Maybe it won't be the latest spec of wing or anything like that if he's binned it. But yeah, I do expect them to be running in the final day. We've seen how quickly Williams have been able to assemble a new car in pretty much 6 or 7 hours. So they've got all night. There is Rob Smedley. He done a piece for F1. It was a great piece of insight into testing schedules, what goes on. And there is a 24-hour shift pattern. So the night shift will come in about 3 or 4 o'clock, start a 2 or 3 hour handover of the car, what's happened, telemetry, and all the specifications of what they've been running, what they need for the next day. So the day boys will come in and they'll just be purely worried about the car and, you know, bolting tires on and off. So Captain Bleeding Obvious, I saw a clip where you can hear the tire go bang. Did you see it? So look at F1. They've just uploaded a highlights recap from day 3 of week 2, or however you want to call it. And you do see Vettel. He's sort of coming towards you into turn 3 and around, and he does go right into the barrier in front of you. So you do hear a snap and then the skid of the car, where of course something has failed. We think it's the front left rim with that which has failed. It's probably caused the tire to, you know, just lose all pressure, and of course he's just gonna pitch in that way. The car's gonna lose its balance, and you're gonna have no braking as well. So that's what's pretty happened. Why he's hit the barrier so hard. So good to see him walk away from it unscathed, unharmed. Live to fight another day. But again, for your confidence, it's gonna knock it, innit? Why am I wearing a Red Bull t-shirt, by the way, as well? I thought we'd keep it unbiased. I had one in the wardrobe, so talking point of the day was Pierre Gasly. Anyway, so Henry Ellis, it was a wheel rim failure that caused Vettel's crash. Captain Bleeding Obvious, hopefully there will be no sandbagging tomorrow. I think there still will be. I think until, you know, when it comes to practice 1, 2, 3 in Melbourne, that's when we'll get a true indication. There'll still be the party modes which will be engaged. I'm sure Honda will bring a party along with them as well. So Henry, so Charles Leclerc surprised you. It's not been a big surprise to me because I have followed him since 2017. I think we started to see him at Silverstone in the junior categories, and he was really, you could see he had pace from the get-go. He was always hustling, committed to his moves, and got clean overtakes. So he's got them true marks, you know, of something that it takes to be the best. So I think he's a world champion in waiting if he's in the right place, the right time, the right car, of course. It's all about the car winning the title as well these days. So Captain Bleeding Obvious is agreeing with Henry. He says he second that. Yeah, he's a mature man inside a young body, I would say. You know, he's very wise when it comes to his driving style. But of course, he's going to have to cut his teeth this year at the front end of the grid, going up against Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, his teammate, you know, fucking 4-time world champion, vying for his 5th title. What's he going to do when they go toe-to-toe into turn 1 at Albert Park? Is he going to back out of it? Of course he probably is in the beginning. So it's going to be interesting how aggressive he can be in this championship. Gasly seems to not have had the best start. I was hoping for better in the Red Bull team, but he's up against a tough teammate in Verstappen. That's going to be a real challenge for him this year. It's going to be very sink or swim in the early phases. What they're going to do if he does have a few DNFs or bad offs or anything like that in the first part of the year. Let me know what you think. So I think it's going to be Ferrari holding the pace coming into the first race, followed by I reckon Red Bull potentially, and then Mercedes. I don't think Mercedes are hiding so much that we think. I think they are struggling with the concept. We've seen it in previous years, where the development race of Mercedes is so much greater. They have so much greater R&D running on their car rather than the initial design aspect. So it's going to be important that Ferrari can challenge them. They've upped their budgets, staffing, everything resources wise for the next couple of years leading up to 2021 with some other regulation changes. So they're going to really try and nail it this time, which is good to see. So yeah, Toro Rosso out. Alexander Albon, super impressed, looking fast. Struggled when we first saw him in testing, but from what I've seen of him since, been pumping solid times in. Team seem very happy with him, so great to see. Danny Kvyat, he's getting on, he's doing the job. Not much to say about him. The Alphas, Kimi Raikkonen, we know what a legend he is. I think he's always a fan's favorite from wherever you're from, just because of the nature he is. No fucks given, just completely out there is Kimi. Even you like Kimi, didn't you?
Yeah.
Even Laura likes Kimi. I think that's a mutual thing amongst most people in the world. You would go for it down for a pint with him anytime, or a vodka, wouldn't you? Cheeky vodka. So Gasly needs to stop crashing, and we end up the new Kvyat. we hear good things like the new Hamilton and new better, but the new Danny Kvyat. Poor him. You don't want to be labelled that early on, do you? Giovinazzi putting a solid job inside, not inside, beside Kimi Raikkonen. Inside would be terrible. So yeah, doing a solid job there. The Haas boys, a bit concerned with their car. They've had more hiccups, probably red flags, than most people I can remember. Grosjean, I think it's do or die this year. I think he really needs to make a statement. I think his Haas will get stronger. I think it is a solid midfield team. However, I worry with him at the helm of it. If he can bring points home consistently, we've seen some major F-ups from him recently. So his teammate, on the other hand, Magnussen, I think will do a solid job this year. You know what he's like, balls out, elbows out. No shit's given from him either. So he's going to be really doing a solid job. The McLaren boys, they've been getting some solid mileage. Again, they've been trying to top the charts. They have been focusing on a lot of performance this week. And their drivers, Carlos Sainz, I think he'll be the stable head of this team for this year. And then, of course, we've got Lando Norris. It's his debut year in the sport. So it's going to be interesting how he fares around, some of these circuits, because he's not going to be driven at this speed, for instance. So yeah, really look forward to seeing how he fares. I don't think he'll do as well as I'm hoping him to do, but again, he's got a good team behind him. Williams, how do we think Williams are going to be? I think they're going to be the back markers of the grid, especially for the first part of the year. Maybe come your European season, get some updates on the car, they can push themselves forward. I think Russell is going to spearhead the team. He's going to come out and be the optimum guy on the strategy all the time, and probably Kubica running longer runs, that kind of thing. Let me know what you think on that. Who's going to win that battle of youth and experience? At the same time, George Russell's got great experience, good racecraft about him. So it's going to be very interesting. I think I've covered everyone other than Racing Point. Racing Point, can't read anything really into them. They're going to bring their new spec of car to Albert Park, so expect them to be doing a shakedown for most of FP1, FP2, FP3, then focusing on short runs and getting quality pace within the car. They've been running some aerodynamics on their older car, for instance, and just modified that in a way around their chassis, etc. So yeah, going to be really interesting. So let me know the key talking points from today. Mercedes, are they running two specs of car? What's up with them? Where they're going to be come the end of the qualifying. It's going to be interesting to tell for sure. Thanks for tuning in to everyone who's dropped a comment, etc. Good to hear from you. Just thought I'd do a quick little video, a little catch up. Yeah, and until next time, keep it racing. We're F1. We love F1, don't we? Albert Park, come on. Can't come quick enough. Let me know about the testing. If any of you want to try and get down to the main test with me as well, I'd be really interested to hear about that. Like I said, we can share a hire car or whatever to get down to the track and get you a discount on accommodation. Just give me a comment or something, and we'll try and get the tickets in. See you soon, Captain Obvious. Until next time. We're not.
I'm trying to take
Cameraman, come on, cameraman. You can do